With this villainous role, I will perform it completely. My fiancé and my biological brother have hated me for 10 years. They always believed I was the one who bullied the white lotus flower they loved. During my engagement ceremony, they publicly exposed my supposed crimes in front of everyone. She's the one who bullies her classmates, a contemptible piece of trash. On a live stream broadcast across the entire network, the white lotus flower teared up, smiling gently. I don't blame her anymore. Looking back, the gentle boat had already sailed past 1,000 mountains. Overnight, she became famous, while I was condemned by the whole world. An extremist fan threw acid on me. I fell into despair. In the end, I chose to drag her down with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school. The white lotus flower in front of me was smiling, having just poured water on her own head. "Have you thought about how you're going to apologize to me?" I immediately snapped. I grabbed her hair, dragged her into the bathroom, and shoved her head straight into the toilet bowl. "Let me teach you what real bullying is. With a mouth this filthy, remember to clean it before you go tattling." My last memory of my previous life was the burning pain as sulfuric acid splashed into my eyes, searing every cell, devouring my life. I gritted my teeth, enduring the pain that tore at every nerve. Through my blurry vision, I saw Lily, shielded behind my brother. My blood boiled. I grabbed a cake knife and lunged forward, the sharp blade plunging straight into her heart. "Let's go to hell together." I opened my eyes, the scene before me terrifyingly clear, no more blurry vision or deathly pain. I froze for 2 seconds until I saw Lily, looking much younger, standing under a running faucet not far away. She was wearing a faded uniform, her hand turning the tap, letting the water pour over her head. As she drenched herself, she flashed a bright, provocative smile, her eyes sparkling with malicious light. "Guess who they'll believe, me or you?" A second later, I fully woke up. So this was that day, the very beginning of all the tragedies of my previous life. Seeing me standing still, unresponsive, Lily's lips curved into an even deeper smile, her voice slow but full of taunts. "Are you done thinking? How are you going to apologize to me?" "Young miss," I didn't answer. In a flash, a towering rage erupted. I lunged forward, grabbed her hair, and dragged her straight into the bathroom. Her piercing scream echoed down the hallway. I didn't care. Amidst Lily's terrified shrieks, I forcefully pushed her head into the toilet bowl. "Just a little water and you want to accuse me? Fine, let me teach you what real bullying is." Lily struggled wildly, her arms flailing as if motorized, but she couldn't escape my grasp. Her face was submerged in the dirty water, her mouth making muffled sounds. "Scarlet Lou, let me go." Gurgle, cough, I tilted my head back and laughed loudly. "With a mouth this filthy, remember to clean it before you go tattling." Whether this was the past or just a hallucination after death, I no longer cared. This time, I'm playing for keeps. In my previous life, I died on the most glorious day of my life. That day, I won my third Best Actress award, wearing a high-end gown, standing shoulder to shoulder with my fiancé, Ethan Jeong. My childhood friend, at a grand engagement ceremony broadcast live across the network. Then, right in the middle of that magnificent scene, he gripped the microphone, his voice cold, resonating before millions of viewers. "I will absolutely not get engaged to someone who bullied her classmates throughout high school." I was stunned, unable to believe what I had just heard. At that moment, Lily emerged from the audience, her eyes glistening with tears, her lips curved into a gentle smile. "Scarlet Lou, do you remember me? I'm Lily, the one you bullied for 10 years. You probably never thought there'd be a day we'd stand on equal footing, but it's okay, I don't blame you anymore." Looking back, the gentle boat had already sailed past 10,000 mountains. Her words were broadcast live across the network. At that moment, she instantly became a phenomenon, the pure goddess everyone adored. Before I could even recover, a group of reporters, prearranged by Ethan and my brother, swarmed and surrounded me. "Miss Lou, we hear you still have a habit of bullying juniors even on set. There are rumors you were caught at a gynecologist. Could it be due to a promiscuous private life?" Before I could speak, an extremist fan from the crowd lunged straight at me, acid bottle held high, screaming madly. "This dirty woman deserves to die?" A cold liquid splashed directly onto my face, the burning pain like fire devouring my flesh. I screamed in despair, my vision completely blurred. From heaven to hell in a flash, I came to my senses and let go. Lily crumpled to the ground, her breath as fragile as a thread, her usually innocent and pure face now streaked with dirt. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Cry, make a scene, go around with this face and tell everyone I bullied you." Go, why aren't you going? My voice unconsciously rose. Remembering the feeling of my skin melting from acid in my previous life, I raised my foot and stomped on her face twice more before calmly turning and walking away. Downstairs, Sarah was waiting for me. PE started ages ago. What were you doing up there? I calmly replied. Oh, just bullying the new student a bit. Her eyes widened. What? I smiled faintly. Lu Xun once said, when the whole world sees you as a bully, then you might as well act like one. Wait, did Lu Xun really say that? Does it matter? I walked with Sarah to the sports field. As soon as we arrived, I immediately ran into Ethan. He wasn't in my class, but everyone in school knew he was Scarlet Lu's childhood sweetheart. Ethan glanced at me, then seemingly inadvertently peeked behind me. Scarlet, why are you late? I heard there's a new transfer student in your class. In my previous life, every time Lily fabricated lies about me, he always pretended to be neutral, wanting to calm the situation. But in reality, with just a few simple words, he had implicitly nailed the accusation of bullying onto me. Thinking of this, I didn't bother saying much, raising my hand and delivering a resounding slap across his face. Sarah was shocked for the second time, looking at me as if I were possessed. Yet Ethan showed no anger, only narrowed his eyes slightly, a cold glint flashing in their depths. Immediately after, he calmly lowered his head, gently rubbed his cheek against mine, his voice soft and intimate. What's wrong, Scarlet? Not in a good mood today. In my previous life, it was a long, long time before I learned the truth. Ethan had been abandoned by his biological mother in an amusement park when he was young, then placed in an orphanage for a while. There, he met a little girl full of light. That little girl slept in the same bed as him, once gave him a candy, and was the only light in Ethan's life. And that light was Lily. The first day she transferred to school, he recognized her immediately. From then on, he never doubted a single word she said. Every time she pretended to be weak and pitiable, accusing me of bullying her, he trusted her absolutely, hating me to the core. But because of his illegitimate status, he was forced to swallow his anger, to pretend to be obedient and curry favor with me, because he needed marriage to me to establish himself in the family. Thinking of this, I calmly opened my mouth. Get your hands off me. Ethan flinched slightly, his pupils contracting. Why? Give me a reason, Scarlet. I silently pulled out a tissue, slowly wiping the part of my face he had rubbed, wiping little by little unhurriedly, then smiling faintly. I don't want to date the son of a mistress. It feels dirty. Is that reason enough? After I left, Sarah cautiously turned to ask, Are you possessed? I wasn't surprised by her question. Because in high school, the Scarlet Lu of that time had loved Ethan so sincerely and intensely. Every day after school, I would patiently wait for him to walk home together. I once painstakingly baked cookies for him, blistering my entire hand, but still brought them to him with a radiant smile. My favoritism was so obvious that the whole world knew, but now it was different. The Scarlet Lu of 12th grade was dead. The one standing here now was Scarlet Lu, who had died once, who had risen from hell. This is Scarlet, reborn with a vengeance. A whole day passed, and Lily didn't appear. I knew very well that her face was her proudest asset. If she couldn't exploit it thoroughly, she wouldn't act easily. But I had enough patience to wait. Soon enough, Saturday arrived, my 18th birthday. My parents had told me beforehand that they would host a grand party to celebrate my coming of age. However, an urgent matter came up at their company, and they couldn't help but be a little late. Under the dazzling crystal lights, I wore an exquisite evening gown, gracefully descending the spiral staircase. From afar, I saw my brother, Brandon Liu. He was dressed in a neat suit, his face as calm and cold as ever, standing there, staring at me. Scarlet Liu, come here. I smiled and walked over, pretending not to see Ethan's gloomy gaze behind him and not bothering to pay attention to Lily's tear-stained, pitiful expression. My voice was clear and soft. Why did you call me, brother? Are you preparing a birthday gift for me? Brandon Liu silently looked at me for a few seconds, his eyes cold, then said in a deep voice, bullying classmates, insulting friends. Scarlet Liu, is this how the Liu family teaches you? His voice was not soft, and in an instant, all eyes at the party turned to us. I gently blinked, my voice full of feigned innocence. What are you talking about, brother? I don't understand anything. I turned to look at Lily, tilting my head, feigning confusion. Who did I insult? I've never bullied anyone, and I don't even know her. Brandon Liu sneered, his voice stern. It's too late to be stubborn now. If you make a mistake, you must pay the price. Mom and Dad aren't here today, I will teach you on their behalf. With that, he reached out and took a wooden ruler from the antique bookshelf beside him. His eyes swept over me, his voice enunciating each word coldly. Kneel. In the grand hall, countless eyes were fixed on me, eagerly awaiting a good show. What? Bullying classmates? How could a daughter of the Liu family do such a thing? Tisk, spoiled since childhood, it's normal not to tolerate others being better than her. Luckily, her brother is handling it and not covering for her. Under Lily's triumphant and provocative gaze, I kept my back straight, not wavering in the slightest. My lips curved slightly, and I smiled mockingly. What on earth are you talking about? Brandon Liu, anyone who didn't know would think you were my brother. Anyone who didn't know would think you were possessed by a vengeful spirit from the Qing dynasty. I tilted my head, my eyes bright, each word clear and distinct. In this life, I only kneel before my ancestors. I paused, then lazily glanced at him from head to toe, before laughing maliciously. Or how about this, you go jump off a building right now. I'll immediately kneel and kowtow 3 times, sending you off. Brandon Liu's face instantly darkened. At that moment, Lily, from behind, feigned weakness and spoke softly. Sister Scarlet, I know you don't like me. You can bully me if you want, but how can you say such things to your own brother? She widened her eyes, glistening with tears, deliberately acting innocent. Ethan, standing beside her, had an unpredictable, dark glint in his eyes. Ethan slowly spoke, his voice low and gentle, as if patiently admonishing. Scarlet, if you've made a mistake, just admit it. There's no need to. I immediately widened my eyes, feigning awkwardness, my voice full of vexation. Excuse me, I don't understand dog barking. Can you speak in human language again? Enough, Brandon Liu roared, his eyes completely dark. Scarlet Liu, you're a girl, do you know what shame is? Who taught you to speak and behave so uncouthly? Ah, just like in my previous life, no matter what I said, he would never believe me. Always harboring deep prejudice, always wanting to nail me to the pillar of humiliation, never giving me a chance to explain. I slightly curved my lips, imitating his cold tone, and replied indifferently, Mom and Dad are busy, they don't have time to manage me. Guess who taught me this way? I laughed, my voice full of sarcasm. Of course, it was you, my dear brother. In my previous life, I was always afraid of Brandon Liu but also loved him. He was much older than me, and in my heart, he was always a dignified older brother. Mom and Dad were busy with work, so he was the one who raised me. If I made even a small mistake, my hand would be hit with a wooden ruler, and I would even be punished by starving for a whole day. Once, I picked up a wild, fluffy puppy and brought it home. He stood coldly at the door, not allowing the maid to open it for me. So dirty, this house doesn't welcome such things. I awkwardly hugged the little dog, quietly sitting on the doorstep all night. I was too young then. I always thought his personality was just naturally cold, that he didn't know how to be gentle with his sister like other brothers. It wasn't until Lily appeared that I fully realized. He wasn't incapable of gentleness. It was just that the person he wanted to be gentle with wasn't me. I once saw him sitting in his car, handing Lily a hot glass of milk, his hand gently stroking her hair, his voice low and tender. Remember to eat 3 meals a day. If you don't have money, I'm here. I also once saw Lily hugging a skinny stray cat in the rain, and he held an umbrella over her, gently asking, Do you want to keep it? When she was drunk, gripping the corner of his shirt, mumbling incoherent words, he wasn't annoyed but patiently listened, his eyes filled with tenderness. In my previous life, I was immersed in my own illusions, constantly wondering why my brother didn't love me, why my fiancé didn't stand by me. But having lived again, I finally fully understood. I am an independent individual. Without love, I can still live well. The birthday party ultimately couldn't proceed smoothly. As Brandon and I were locked in a tense confrontation, my parents finally returned. They maintained their calm demeanor, politely thanking and seeing off each guest. Just as I thought Lily would seize the opportunity to continue her pitiful act in front of my mother, she merely smiled faintly, cutting off Lily's words. Excuse me, student. The affairs of the Liu family, we will handle ourselves. Please leave first. Lily froze, her eyes as if choked in her throat. She silently looked up at Brandon, her eyes glistening as if about to shed tears, but then had no choice but to turn and leave. After only Brandon and I were left in the house, my father finally looked at both of us and said in a deep voice, All right, now explain clearly what exactly happened. I didn't wait for Brandon to speak, immediately seizing the opportunity. Some time ago, our school had a new transfer student. On her very first day in class, she poured water on her own head and then screamed wildly that I had bullied her. Later, I found out she was the same poor student Lily, whom brother has always sponsored. As soon as I finished speaking, Brandon immediately looked up, his eyes filled with astonishment. Surprised, aren't you, brother? Did you think I didn't know about your secret relationship? I lightly pressed the corner of my reddened eye, my voice slightly choked, my face so wrong that anyone looking would be moved. Actually, I've never blamed her. It's just a birthday party, it's nothing important. I took a deep breath, my voice gentle yet tinged with bitterness. I just feel very sad. Why doesn't brother believe me? Haha, in this world, Lily isn't the only one who knows how to play the white lotus flower role. Amidst the silent atmosphere, my father's voice rang out, majestic but sufficient to quell any argument. All right, no matter who is right or wrong, this matter must not be blown out of proportion. If it gets out, it will negatively affect both of you. This matter ends here. Back at school, I began to openly bully Lily. I poured black ink into her desk drawer, laughing mockingly as she read English with a clumsy accent. I tore up her physics test, scattering the shredded pieces over her head. Go on, keep tattling, isn't that what you're best at? A small piece of paper fluttered from her hair. She looked up at me, a chilling glint of resentment flashing in her eyes. Yet in the end, she could only tremble, tears streaming down her cheeks. She begged me, I'm sorry, Sister Scarlet. If there's anything I did to displease you, I apologize, I'll change, please. I blinked, my lips curling into an interested smile. Your very existence displeases me. How do you plan to change that? Are you going to die right now? She opened her mouth to say something but couldn't utter a word, finally only able to continue crying. For the first time, I felt playing the villain was so exhilarating. Of course, she still tattled to the teacher. The teacher called me to the office. I silently wiped the corners of my eyes red, and began to cry, recounting what happened at the birthday party. Finally, I gently took out a hospital certificate. That day, because of her false accusations, my brother humiliated me in front of so many people. Every time I remember it, I cry. I often wake up in the middle of the night from nightmares. Currently, I'm still seeing a psychologist and taking medication for treatment. The doctor said I suffer from severe depression. In the end, the teacher actually had to comfort me. Everyone clearly saw one thing: I utterly detested Lily. Sarah frowned, completely bewildered. What enmity do you have with her, exactly? What did she do to you? I tilted my head and flashed a radiant smile at her. Can it simply be because I'm a villain? Based on being rich, so I look down on poor new transfer students? Stop being so dramatic. Sarah shot me a disdainful glance. If you were that kind of person, why didn't you bully me? My family is even poorer than hers. From the first day we became friends, you bought my entire stationery set for all 3 years of high school. If you told me to believe you bully classmates, I'd sooner believe I'm Empress Wu Zetian. I know you too well. Yes, such a simple thing, anyone could understand. But only my brother and the man I once loved didn't understand. I slightly curved my lips, but there was no hint of a smile in my eyes. In another month, it would be the school's 100th anniversary celebration. In my previous life, it was at this very ceremony, under the arrangement of Brandon Liu and Ethan Jiang, that Lily performed a piano solo. Thanks to that performance, she caught the eye of a special admissions teacher and secured the only direct admission slot. And me? I started learning dance at 4 years old, persevering for over 10 years. I had originally prepared a classical dance performance for the ceremony. But then Ethan came to me. As dusk settled over the school campus, he gently embraced me, his voice low, tinged with possessive tenderness. Don't participate, okay? Scarlet, I don't want too many people to see you so beautiful. I'll get jealous. Please dance only for me, all right? How foolish was I then? I was ecstatic, thinking it was because he cared about me. So, on the day of the anniversary celebration, I really didn't go on stage. In a quiet, empty dance studio, I danced over and over again for a single audience member, him. The music stopped, and from the distant main auditorium, thunderous applause erupted. Ethan heard it, and suddenly he laughed. His smile was always gentle, always veiled by a thin mist, as if nothing in this world could faze him. But that time, I clearly saw his emotions waver, so I foolishly stopped, curiously asking, "Are you very happy?" He paused for a moment, then nodded. Happy. At that time, I thought he was happy because I had only danced for him. It was much later that I realized he was happy because Lily's performance had been a huge success. Because the only light in his life had finally found a brilliant future. I submitted an application for the performance program early, but this time it wasn't a solo dance. I gathered all the female students in my class interested in performing and arranged a group classical dance piece. I paid out of my own pocket to hire instructors, ordered the most expensive costumes, and prepared custom-designed props. Compared to Lily's piano solo in a simple white dress, our performance was infinitely more dazzling and spectacular. I don't know what she cried and complained about to Brandon Liu. That evening, when I returned home from school, he was waiting in the garden, blocking my path. "Scarlet Liu." Brandon stared at me, his face devoid of emotion. "Your performance for the anniversary celebration, cancel it." I smiled faintly, raising an eyebrow provocatively. "Brandon Liu, what are you barking about again?" He sneered, his eyes filled with cold sarcasm. "Don't think I'm negotiating with you. If you insist on performing, you'll suffer the consequences." I stopped, looked directly into his gloomy eyes, and slowly spoke each word. "Brother, doesn't your precious beauty have any confidence after practicing piano for over a decade to stand on the same stage as me?" I tilted my head, my lips curving in mockery. What a useless person. Not long before the anniversary celebration, Ethan came to me. "Scarlett." He looked at me, his eyes complex. "What happened last time was my fault, but you blocked all contact and refused to see me. I don't know what exactly happened. Scarlett, did you misunderstand me, or have you fallen for someone else?" As he spoke the last words, his voice carried a distinct hint of pain. "But you yourself said you would always love me most." A sudden surge of fury mixed with sharp pain erupted within me. Previously, I had truly loved him for so many years. He said he didn't like me doing kissing scenes. I immediately turned down countless offers from top directors. He said Lily had a pitiful background, having been bullied in an orphanage, and told me not to be too hard on her. I had forgiven her for repeatedly overstepping, deliberately provoking me. I only hoped to exchange true feelings for true feelings. But all I received in return was slander and hatred that lasted for 10 years. In this moment, I suddenly realized I didn't even want to pretend to be kind to him anymore. Without hesitation, I grabbed Ethan's collar and shoved him hard, slamming him against the tree trunk behind him. He gasped sharply. Before he could speak, I swung my hand and slapped him hard across the face, holding nothing back. His pale skin immediately flushed red. I leaned closer, enunciating each word. "I've known for a long time you and Lily already knew each other. You like her, don't you? So why pretend to be infatuated with me? You want to keep me and also pursue the only light in your life. You're no different from your biological mother, someone who knows perfectly well she's a homewrecker, yet shamelessly forces her way in." As soon as I finished speaking, Ethan's eyes suddenly darkened, emotions swirling within him like a fierce storm, but he couldn't utter a word. I laughed coldly, let go, didn't spare him another glance, and turned to leave. That night, I had a rare dream. I dreamt of what happened in my previous life after I died. I saw the cake knife plunged deep into Lily's chest. I saw myself in extreme pain, dying in despair, and she was rushed to the emergency room. Outside the patient's room, Ethan clutched Brandon Liu's collar, his voice filled with fury and grief. "You said you'd take care of everything. You said you'd protect her." Brandon Liu threw his hand off, his voice cold as ice. "I agreed to share her with you. You're just an illegitimate son. Without my help, do you think you could control the Liu family? Don't push your luck." Ethan staggered back a few steps, his lips moving as if to retort something, but as the words came out, he suddenly fell silent. Brandon Liu sneered coldly. "That's right, my sister helped you, but she's dead now. Do you remember who contacted the person who threw acid? It was you, Ethan. Did you forget?" The space fell silent. Ethan stood there, not saying a word. On the emergency room door, the red warning light still flashed. A long moment later, the doctor pushed the door open, his voice calm yet sharp. "The patient is not yet out of danger." Ethan trembled slightly. He stared at Lily's pale, bloodless face. A second later, his eyes flickered, then he spoke, his voice chillingly indifferent. "I never forgot, and I never regretted it." I woke up from the dream with a sudden surge of nausea. I stumbled into the bathroom, clinging to the toilet bowl, dry heaving for a long time. It wasn't until I looked up that I saw myself in the mirror, my eyes bloodshot, filled with boundless hatred. I whispered, my voice chilling even to myself. "No regrets, that's fine. In this life, I'll make you regret it. Regret ever being born into this world. Just you wait." On the day of the anniversary celebration, as I passed the artificial lake on campus, I coincidentally ran into Lily. She was wearing a silver dress, delicate yet luxurious, with a sparkling diamond necklace around her neck. I didn't need to guess. It was definitely a gift from Brandon Liu to appease her. Lily stood in front of me, her voice sharp, her eyes cold and full of hatred. "Scarlet Liu, do you think the title of a Liu family young lady can protect you forever? You've bullied me for so long, do you really think I won't retaliate? I will make you pay 100, 1,000 times over. Even if you know what relationship Ethan and I have, so what? He loves me and your brother only loves me. As for you, you'll never have anyone's love in this life." She launched into another long, smug, and arrogant monologue. I chuckled faintly, raising an eyebrow, and simply replied, "Does the toilet water taste good?" Lily's face instantly changed. I calmly turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, her face red then white, too angry to speak. In the afternoon, the sun was red like fire, its rays stretching to the horizon. My dance team members and I had changed into our gorgeous evening gowns and hurried towards backstage. Halfway there, I suddenly realized the special prop for the final act had disappeared. I frowned, trying to remember if I had left it in the practice room. "Do you want me to go with you?" Sarah asked worriedly. I shook my head, smiling. "No need, the prop isn't too heavy, I can carry it. Everyone else go backstage first, finish your makeup, then talk to the stage manager and help me arrange the order of the props, okay?" As soon as I finished speaking, I turned and walked straight to the multifunctional building. It was now deserted. My dress shimmered with gold as I ascended the stairs towards the dance studio, but just as I was about to reach that floor, I suddenly stopped. A few steps ahead, someone was standing, blocking the way. The crimson sunset shone through the window. Half of his face was in shadow, only his eyes still bright and deep like a bottomless whirlpool. "Ethan." He opened his mouth, his voice low like an impending storm. "Scarlet, what are you planning to do?" I sneered, my voice barely concealing my disgust. "What does it have to do with you? Stay away from me." I lifted my skirt and walked straight up the stairs, but the moment I brushed past him, a strong force suddenly gripped my shoulder. In a blank second, I didn't have time to react. The next moment, my entire body was pushed backward. Behind me were dozens of towering stairs. I lost my balance and fell straight down with a thud. My back slammed hard against the steps, pain tearing at every nerve. The falling force was too great, I couldn't regain my balance, and my body rolled down, each cold step hitting my bones, the pain so intense my mind was almost blank. Finally, my whole body hit the iron railing hard, my ankle twisted at an odd angle. A small snap sounded, and a sharp pain shot through me as if my leg bone had cracked. Step by step, Ethan slowly walked down and stood right beside me. He still looked at me with those calm eyes. The sunset cast a half-indifferent light on his face. He opened his mouth, his voice chillingly cold. "Scarlet, don't blame me. You've had everything since you were little. Even if you missed this opportunity, you still have countless other paths to take. But Lily isn't like you. She has tried her best, and this is the only opportunity she has left." With that, he bent down. His cold hand gripped my ankle. Before I could react, he used all his strength and brutally slammed my foot against the iron railing. Crash! The intense pain felt as if my entire leg bone shattered. The image from my dream suddenly flashed in my mind. In it, he stood outside the hospital room next to Brandon Liu. His eyes were full of tenderness and love, silently watching Lily being wheeled out of the emergency room. But when he spoke of me, his tone was terrifyingly indifferent. I never regretted it. I had spent the best 15 years of my life, used the most sincere and intense love to love such a person. I burst out laughing. The moment Ethan was about to slam my body against the railing, I suddenly struggled free, pulling my foot from his hand. I spat out a single cold word: "Useless." My sprained ankle caused me so much pain I could barely breathe, but I gritted my teeth. Seizing the moment before Ethan could react, I grabbed his hair, forced his head down, and slammed it straight into the iron railing. Thud! The sound echoed throughout the staircase. His forehead hit the sharp corner. A trail of fresh blood immediately gushed out. Each drop of blood fell, slowly seeping into his pristine white shirt collar. He flinched slightly, his eyes blurring from the pain, losing focus. "Scarlet," he called my name hoarsely. I took a deep breath, let go of his hair, and slowly stood up. The throbbing pain from my sprained ankle continued, but I didn't care. I bent down, staring into his pained and dazed eyes, and slowly smiled. "How touching, my young master. To lift your white lotus flower, you'd even decisively sacrifice my life? Is this Brandon Liu's warning to me? Have you two already negotiated and decided to share her?" I sneered, my smile growing more mocking, nauseating. I lifted my dress, gently wiping the bloodstains from Ethan's face. Red streaks smeared across the light-colored fabric, staining it into a twisted, chaotic mess. Then I left him right there. As darkness fell, I rushed straight towards the auditorium. From afar, the soft piano melody flowed, weaving into the silent night. Lily was playing the exact same piece as in my previous life, Debussy's Clair de Lune asterisk. On stage, she sat before a pristine white piano, wearing a sparkling silver dress. Everything around her was dark, with only a spotlight shining down, making her look like the only star blazing in the night sky. Just like in my previous life, when she stepped over my bones to reach the pinnacle, dazzling to the point of disgust. I rushed down the aisle between the 2 rows of audience seats, heading straight for the stage. Security and the MC quickly blocked me, but I broke free from their grasp and climbed directly onto the performance platform. Under the astonished gaze of the entire audience, I stood right in the center of the only light on stage. A second later, crash, I kicked Lily off the piano stool. The music abruptly stopped. She fell hard to the floor, her eyes wide with shock and panic. I gave her no chance to react, swinging my hand and punching the piano lid. "Play, play, play, I'll let you play," my voice hissed, full of madness. "You sent your tail-wagging dog to harm me, and you still have the nerve to sit here playing the piano?" Bop, I stomped hard on the keyboard. A piercing discord echoed throughout the hall. Of course, I knew that the special admissions professor invited by Brandon Liu was sitting right below the stage. In my previous life, it was after hearing this Clair de Lune that he actively contacted Lily after the performance, offering her the only direct admission slot. And she accepted. That was just the first step on her brilliant path. Later, under Brandon Liu's meticulous arrangements, she was even accepted as the last disciple by a world-renowned music master. And me. For a film, I had to play a piano prodigy with autism. My agent arranged for me to meet that master to learn from him. But after meeting Lily just once that evening, when I returned home, Brandon Liu stood blocking the door. His voice was full of disgust and contempt. "Scarlet Liu, aren't you going to stop? Just because you're not as good as Lily, you hate her so much that you even tore up the sheet music she handwritten for the teacher? What a despicable wretch." I was stunned for a few seconds. When I finally reacted, I instinctively wanted to explain, but he rudely threw my hand away, coldly cutting me off. Lying to this extent, no matter how you try to justify it, I won't believe a word. Back in reality, the entire hall had erupted. The audience was in an uproar. Amidst the chaotic shouts, someone suddenly screamed, "Blood, her dress is covered in blood." Only then did I look down at my dazzling dress, stained crimson. Blood and dirt mingled, forming grotesque, blotchy streaks. My hair was also messy and disheveled. My legs were swollen, my ankles bruised and inflamed. My entire body was covered in wounds, looking as if I had just endured torture. I slowly lifted my head, my eyes glistening with tears. Every detail on me at that moment was clearly testifying to the truth. I had been harmed. Across from me, Lily trembled, propping herself up on the piano stool, staggering to her feet. Lily's eyes were filled with venom and bitter hatred, swirling for a moment, but very quickly, she returned to her usual weak, innocent demeanor. She looked up, her voice slightly trembling. "Sister Scarlet, I don't understand what you're saying." "Perhaps there's some misunderstanding, but now it's my performance. Out of respect for the audience, you shouldn't interrupt like this." At that moment, Brandon Liu angrily rose from the audience, roaring with fury. "Scarlet Liu, are you insane?" I didn't bother to pay attention. Under countless stunned gazes, I pushed Lily's hand away and calmly sat down at the piano. A deep, powerful melody suddenly erupted. I played Beethoven's Symphony of Fate. In my previous life, for a film that required me to play the piano myself without a body double, I had practiced diligently for 3 months. Although I hadn't reached a master's level, it was more than enough to play in this setting. The majestic and determined sounds spread throughout the hall. The music echoed, mingling with a slight electrical interference in the sound system, reverberating off the high ceiling of the auditorium. The entire hall suddenly fell into absolute silence. No one spoke, no one could take their eyes off the stage. Every note seemed to strike powerfully at the minds of everyone present. When the final note sounded, I slowly turned my head, my gaze locked on Lily, and spoke coldly. "You ruined my birthday party. You incited my brother to turn his back on me. You slandered me in front of my friends and family. All of that, I will find a way to repay." I paused for a moment, seeing Lily's face suddenly turn pale, completely bloodless. I smiled faintly, each word like a knife slicing through flesh. But sending Ethan to push me down the stairs just because you didn't want me on this stage, and yet you don't even have the courage to compete with me fairly? Aren't you most proud of your piano skills? I raised an eyebrow, my voice sharp and sarcastic. So why are you afraid to compete with me? The stage and the audience were in complete chaos. Finally, the teacher in charge of the program had to go on stage and pull Lily and me off. The MC rushed up to rescue the situation and continued the program. The next performance was my classical dance with the female students in my class. As I passed the backstage area, I saw my fellow performers ready. Sarah, her eyes red, ran up and gripped my hand, asking worriedly, "You're hurt, aren't you? I should have gone with you." I gently stroked her head and gave her a soft smile. "I'm fine. Go on stage. We've practiced for so long, let's do our best." The longest competition, the prize is 100,000 yuan. From the very beginning, I didn't choreograph this dance just for myself. I stood in the shadows, watching them step onto the stage, and my heart finally relaxed. Then I closed my eyes. The pain from my wounds and the exhaustion came like a huge wave, submerging all my senses. Hospital, my consciousness gradually sank into darkness. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. That night, Brandon Liu burst into my room. He was furious, yelling as soon as he entered, "You're crazy, Scarlet Liu, you're truly insane." He had originally intended to slowly, step by step, elevate the girl he loved, placing her in the most dazzling position, like tending a flower, meticulously allowing it to bloom, bringing him absolute satisfaction. "But brother, did you think I would give you that chance?" I tilted my head, flashing a provocative smile. "What now, brother? Not only did your white lotus flower fail to complete her performance, but your plan to break my leg has also been exposed. From now on, she can't get into the school she dreams of." I suddenly remembered something, and my smile deepened. I burst out laughing, looking directly at Brandon Liu with disdain. "Oh, that's right. Your accomplice, Ethan Jiang, is still lying on the floor of the multifunctional building. If you have time, remember to take him to the hospital." I clutched the corner of the blanket, laughing loudly, my injured ankle twitching, the pain causing my features to contort. In Brandon Liu's eyes, my appearance at this moment was reflected. A madwoman, her eyes burning with fire. Or perhaps, from the day I died in my previous life, I had gone insane. Brandon Liu's facial muscles twitched slightly, anger flashing in his eyes, but he immediately suppressed it, his face returning to its familiar cold and arrogant expression. He smiled faintly, his voice full of contempt. "So what? Scarlet Liu, even if Lily fails, you still couldn't perform your piece. Not only that, your insane appearance today was completely caught on camera. This time, you can't just get away with a fake diagnosis. The school has contacted Mom and Dad. They're preparing to expel you." "Ha ha ha," I burst out laughing without a hint of fear. I looked directly into his arrogant eyes, each word sharp as a knife. "Just expulsion. Do you think I care? Don't forget, you and I are both children of the Liu family. As Ethan himself said, even if I lose this path, I still have countless other paths to take." I tilted my head, smiling brightly. From the beginning, my only goal was one, to drag Lily out of the spotlight she yearned for. That's all. In my previous life, she framed me with false accusations. In this life, I will make those things come true. The path she has walked, I will block step by step. We're far from over, Lily. I had caused a commotion at the anniversary celebration, and even hit Ethan and Lily in front of everyone. The stories of me bullying Lily at school before that were also uploaded online, creating a storm of public opinion. The story of a rich young lady and a poor female student fighting, whether 10 years ago or 10 years later, was enough to stir public opinion. But this time, everything was different, because I had stood on stage and spoken clearly, word for word. Because of my miserable appearance, because of Beethoven's Symphony of Fate, full of indignation and madness. This time, not everyone stood on Lily's side anymore. It's not necessarily the rich young lady bullying the poor, right? Just listening to her play, I don't believe she's that kind of person. How hilarious are there only fortune tellers here? Now you can guess someone's character just by listening to them play. But ignoring other things, look at her leg, it's swollen like a bun. Covered in blood, who would bully others and make themselves look like this? Leaving aside right or wrong, this girl's spirit is incredible, like she's living 8 versions ahead of her time. Even Sarah and the dance team friends rushed online to argue with netizens. "What are you saying? Scarlet Liu isn't that kind of person. Lily brazenly provoked her first." Online arguments raged fiercely, with attacks from both sides, but I didn't care. During the days I was hospitalized, I don't know what Brandon Liu said to our parents. I only know that the day I was discharged and returned home, he looked at me, his voice extremely cold. Just a short time without supervision and you've become so lawless. Now the school no longer accepts you, so go study abroad. Stay away for a while, wait for the storm to pass, then come back. My father's attitude didn't surprise me at all, because between Brandon and me, he always prioritized his son. In my previous life, when the incident at the engagement party happened, my father was still alive. Brandon Liu created such a big scene, there was no way to hide it from him. But until I died, he never said a word to me. But that no longer mattered. I slightly curved my lips, smiling faintly. All right, my father nodded, his voice calm. You always wanted to study acting. I'll help you contact a prestigious art academy, shall I? I suddenly cut him off. I want to study finance. I'll go to business school. Both my father and Brandon Liu were stunned. My father stared at me, his eyes gradually deepening into a layer of profound thought. My admission procedures were quickly completed. Meanwhile, Ethan was still hospitalized, his injuries much more severe than mine. I heard Lily visited him, she even comforted him, saying that this wasn't his fault, but that I was too heartless. Sarah, holding a bouquet of white lilies of the valley, sat down on the sofa grumbling. She pouted, a perfect couple of scumbags. They were the ones who wanted to break your leg, and now you're the heartless one? I ask, where exactly are you heartless? I lazily glanced at the bouquet in her hand. These flowers are expensive, aren't they? That prize money was for everyone to keep for themselves. Sarah smiled faintly, pushing the bouquet into my hand. It's okay. Everyone knows you're going to study abroad, so we each contributed a little for me to buy you flowers. She took a deep breath as if making a resolution, looking at me, her voice a little hesitant. Scarlett, I always have a feeling. You know some things I don't. Since Lily transferred here, something has been very different, but I can't quite put my finger on it. If I'm talking nonsense, just ignore me. She put the flowers aside and carefully gave me a gentle hug. Come back soon. When you return, we'll still be friends. The night before I left, I sat on the balcony, feeling the night wind. My mother sat beside me, her eyes a little worried, seeming to want to say something but held back. I took her hand, looked her straight in the eyes, and said softly, Mom, don't worry about me. In my previous life, my mother died in a car accident. When she was alive, no matter how much my father favored his son, Brandon Liu wouldn't dare lay a hand on me. Thinking of this, my heart suddenly tightened. In my previous life, later on, Brandon Liu had completely lost his mind due to his love for Lily. A cold thought suddenly crept into my mind. My mother's car accident that year. Was it really accidental? My heart tightened, and I unconsciously gripped my mother's hand, my voice full of caution. Mom, you must be careful and protect yourself well. I paused for a moment, then finally decided to speak. And also, be careful of Brandon Liu. My mother stared at me with a puzzled look, then sighed gently. Little Scarlett, you don't seem like yourself anymore. She smiled bitterly and shook her head. That's my fault. You were so naive before, believing anything anyone said. I told you that Jiang boy wasn't trustworthy, yet you still defended him. He's not the person you think he is, Mom. Even on your birthday, I wanted to ask your father to give you shares, but you just laughed and said, as long as I have a beautiful dress and jewelry, it's fine. It drove me crazy. At that time, I only hoped you could be a little smarter, a little more perceptive. But if this change has to come at some painful price, I'd rather you remain as naive as you once were. What mother in this world doesn't understand her daughter? In my previous life, I was truly a complete fool, always using the greatest kindness to judge others. That's why Lily harmed me again and again, but I never truly retaliated against her. That's why I ultimately died at my own engagement party. No, Mom. I gently rubbed my reddened eyes, smiling faintly. This world is inherently a place where the strong devour the weak. A kind fool can only become prey. Unfortunately, to understand this truth, I had to die once. At 18, I packed my luggage and went abroad. Everything around me, people, environment, opportunities, was completely unfamiliar. But I felt no fear because I knew too much about the future. Though I didn't remember every small detail, the important milestones were enough for me to change many things. And most importantly, 2 years later. In my previous life, when I was 20, Brandon Liu learned of a man named David Zhou from some source, then personally flew to San Francisco to meet him. David Zhou held the most advanced core technology. In just 5 years, he helped Brandon Liu completely acquire the Liu Corporation, elevating him to the pinnacle of power. But in this life, I won't let that happen. I used the money my mother gave me to invest in the stock market. Relying on the remaining memories from my previous life, I multiplied my initial capital many times over. Simultaneously, I studied twice the amount of knowledge and invested the money I earned into several companies that, in my previous life, made it onto the Fortune 500 list. Currently, most of these companies were still in their startup phase, but I knew very well they were the future giants. During this time, Sarah frequently contacted me. Every week, she would call to tell me news from home. Sometimes she would say that all the dance team members missed me very much. Other times, she would tell me how much her life had improved since receiving the prize money. Then one day, her voice was full of joy. "Scarlett, do you know what happened? A university just held open admissions. Lily participated." I raised an eyebrow. And, haha, she actually failed the interview round. Sarah laughed uncontrollably, then lowered her voice mysteriously. Guess who interviewed her that day? It was the professor who was at the school festival that year. He said her Claire de Lune was too muddy, lacking emotion, completely incomparable to your symphony of fate. I slightly curved my lips, a nonchalant smile. Of course, because in this life I've stolen all her glory. Do you know, when Lily left the interview room, she hugged her loyal dog, Ethan, and burst into tears. And every time she cried miserably, I laughed with joy. Sarah laughed heartily. I also smiled faintly, but my smile was much colder because this battle was far from over. When I received Sarah's message, I was struggling with the final exams for 2 majors. My head spinning from the pressure, I looked at the short message on my phone screen. University exam results are out. I ranked first in the entire school, third in the entire city. I slightly curved my lips, a genuine smile appearing. "Congratulations." On the other side, she immediately replied very quickly. "Scarlett, I'm still waiting for you to come back and continue being my friend." My mother also called frequently, asking about my life abroad and incidentally telling me news about Brandon Liu. Sometimes she worriedly asked if I had enough money to spend. Every time I briefly explained what I was doing, she would just sigh helplessly. "You're still a young girl, don't push yourself too hard. If there's anything you need help with, just tell me, don't be shy." I paused for a moment, then slowly said, "Mom, I need you to investigate someone for me." I told her David Joe's name, along with what I remembered from my previous life. Before ending the call, I carefully instructed her on one thing. "Mom, you absolutely must keep this a secret from brother." I arrived in San Francisco a month earlier than Brandon Liu. On my first day, as I was asking for directions, I accidentally saw a very familiar face on the lawn near the university. David Joe. He was a few years younger, his face still showing a hint of immaturity. Standing in front of him was a tall, slender girl with short hair, wearing glasses, her eyes sharp and cold. She glared at him, her tone uncompromising. "That's the result of my research." "Who allowed you to take it without permission to discuss commercial cooperation?" David Joe forced a smile, his voice full of coaxing. "Why say that? You have a share too, didn't we research it together?" The girl scoffed, her voice tinged with sarcasm. "The idea was mine, the experiments were done by me, you only recorded data for a short time, and yet you think you have the right to dispose of this project." David Joe's face darkened. He gritted his teeth. "Chloe Chin, don't be unreasonable. We're about to graduate. Aren't I worrying about both our futures? What good is it for you to hold on to it? Isn't it best to find a reliable company to collaborate on development?" Chloe Chin was unmoved, her voice growing colder. "I'll say it one last time, that's mine. The patent is in my hands. The most crucial core of the technology, you know absolutely nothing about, and you still want to find someone to collaborate with. As long as I'm alive, don't even dream of it. And one more thing, from now on, we're breaking up. You and I have no relationship whatsoever anymore." With that, she turned and walked away, her footsteps resolute. David Joe stood frozen, staring at her retreating figure, his eyes gradually shifting from resentment to coldness. I took a step back, the corner of my mouth curving into an interested smile. It seems the game is more interesting than I thought. A chilling glint of murderous intent seemed to flash in David Joe's eyes. I stood silently in place, a thought suddenly clear in my mind. In my previous life, I once heard Lily ask Brandon Liu, "How did you manage to control a talent like David Joe?" At that time, he smiled faintly, wrapping his arm tightly around her, the two of them sitting by the pool, his voice lazy and confident, "Because he has something he needs my help with." More importantly, in my previous life, I had never heard the name Chloe Chin, never had any trace of her existence. But now she stood right in front of me. She was the one who created the core technology David Joe wanted to steal. A crucial piece of this entire chess game had been revealed. I narrowed my eyes, the corner of my mouth curved slightly, my gaze suddenly sharpened. It seems I've found a new trump card for this battle. I found a way to arrange a meeting with Chloe Chin. Finally, at a cafe far from her school, we faced each other. She didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. "Miss Liu, I know why you're looking for me, but I won't sell my research." I calmly asked. "Why?" She hesitated for a moment, but finally answered. "Currently, it's just an incomplete product." I was holding my coffee cup, my movements unconsciously stopping. She continued, her voice filled with firm conviction. "I know for business people like you, the most important thing is commercial value, but I don't care about that. What I care about is the final result, whether it can create a breakthrough for human science and technology. For me, its intrinsic value is more important than anything else." I looked directly at her, not taking my eyes off her. When she spoke of her ideals, her unadorned, makeup-free face glowed radiantly. She was so brilliant, a person who should have become a great scientist, leaving her mark on history. But in my previous life, solely because of the selfish desires of two men, she died in a foreign land, like a hazy speck of dust crushed by the wheel of time, disappearing without a trace. She stood up, her voice calm. "Miss Liu, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." The moment she turned, I reached out and blocked her path. She frowned slightly but showed no anger. I looked her straight in the eyes, my voice sincere and resolute. "Miss Chin, I am willing to fund all the necessary costs and resources for your research. You just need to continue completing your work. After you have a finished product, I only ask you to help me with one small thing. This achievement will still belong to you, and history will record your name. Can this be done?" The day I returned home, the first snow fell lightly, covering the ground. Stepping out of the airport with my luggage, my eyes immediately landed on a huge billboard, displaying Lily's exquisitely made-up face. Over the past few years, while I was busy building my company, preparing to directly confront Brandon Liu, he hadn't been idle either. After being rejected in her interview for direct admission, Lily was still arranged by him to enter the film academy, thus officially stepping into the entertainment industry. She truly was consistent. I scoffed, mockingly telling myself, trash, yet still desperately climbing to the top. Then I walked straight to my car. The car sped through the snow-covered traffic, heading straight for my company building. 3 days later, the most important bidding session was about to take place. This was one of the crucial milestones for me to stand on equal footing with Brandon Liu. For 3 days, Chloe Chin and I practically ate and slept in the office, perfecting the optimal bidding proposal. Finally, at the public bidding session, no surprises occurred. My company, Lumina, officially won the bid. When the company name was announced, I slowly stood up, turned around, and met Brandon Liu's stunned gaze. "Miss Scarlet Liu," I sneered, the corner of my lips curving into a slight smile. "Long time no see, brother." After the bidding ended, he chased after me, stopping me in the corridor. His voice was full of anger and disbelief, as if he still couldn't trust his eyes. "Lumina is your company? Chloe Chin has been missing all this time. You hid her, didn't you?" I burst out laughing, my eyes full of mockery. "Why are you in such a hurry, Brandon Liu?" I tiptoed closer, slowly looking him straight in the eyes, intentionally lowering my voice. "Chloe Chin and you didn't know each other to begin with, so why are you so eagerly looking for her? Or is there something I don't know?" I blinked, tilting my head, smiling provocatively. "You're not planning anything illegal, are you?" Brandon Liu narrowed his eyes slightly, his gaze suddenly sharpening. I laughed again, calmly turning and walking away, leaving him rooted to the spot. This time, returning home, I didn't bother to hide. After winning the big contract, I started actively socializing, networking with prominent figures in the business world. Thanks to having the right to use Chloe Chin's patents, plus snatching important projects from the Liu Corporation, everyone treated me with utmost politeness. This enthusiastic welcome was something I had never received, even after winning 3 Best Actress awards in my previous life. I held a glass of red wine, lightly swirling the dark liquid inside, and sighed, "Indeed, only when you hold the means of production in your hands do people truly have value." Beside me, Sarah turned her head, her eyes intently observing me from head to toe. "How do I feel like you've only been away for 4 years, but you've aged 10? I shrugged, smiling faintly. "It's just normal." At 18, you can be reckless with your youth, but now that I've graduated from university, if you want to show your fangs to the world, you first have to learn to put on an educated facade. With that, I calmly raised my bid card and shouted, 2 million. At that moment, Lily suddenly turned her head, her eyes fixed on me. Even Ethan, sitting next to her, couldn't help but look up, his eyes meeting mine. The moment our gazes met, I could clearly see a fleeting stunned expression in his eyes. I observed carefully, quickly noticing the faint scar on his forehead, and suddenly I found it quite interesting. Right then, Ethan came to his senses and immediately raised his bid card, 2.6 million. I smiled faintly, having guessed it from the beginning. He wanted to buy this diamond bracelet for Lily because her birthday was in a few days. Even if Ethan tried his best to gain some power in the Jiang Corporation, he still couldn't compare to Brandon Liu, who held the entire Liu Corporation in his hands. To compete for favor, he could only try to curry favor in other ways. I calmly bid, deliberately pushing the price up little by little, watching him grit his teeth and pay 6 million for the diamond bracelet. Then I smiled faintly. Such deep affection. Ethan clenched the bracelet, his eyes lowered, silently looking at me. A long moment later, he softly called, Scarlett. I immediately took a step back, feigning disgust, my voice full of sarcasm. Oh my God, stop it. Just hearing that makes me want to vomit. Then I scrutinized him from head to toe, slowly letting out a cold, HMPH. Compared to your mistress, at least you have more guts than her. After all, you successfully wormed your way into the position of the main wife, didn't you? I intentionally lowered my voice, sneeringly asking him, but I'm a little curious. How do you and my brother arrange your schedules? 1 year it's your turn, 246 it's his turn, and Sundays all 3 of you together. My voice had no intention of being subtle. Sure enough, immediately after the auction ended, quite a few people in the business world came to me curiously to inquire. I feigned an awkward expression but ultimately pretended to reluctantly reveal, oh, it's nothing much. My brother and the young master of the Jiang family, you see, they both like the same actress. Ah, it's just a matter of feelings. Who doesn't have someone they adore? For love, people can endure anything. After that day, rumors exploded everywhere. Not only were there rumors about the trio, but I also began to pour money into the entertainment industry, supporting new actresses. I snatched many important roles that, in my previous life, should have belonged to Lily. How could Brandon Liu tolerate his white lotus flower being suppressed? He immediately moved to deal with me, and this was exactly what I had been waiting for. If he didn't make a move, how could I expose his weaknesses? My name suddenly appeared on the hot search, accompanied by my company Lumina. #Lumina founder Scarlett Liu School bullying Scarlett Liu spreads malicious rumors Lily bullied. The video from the school anniversary celebration, when I smashed Lily's piano, was dug up again, but this time they cut out the part where I played Symphony of Fate. Not only that, they also contacted my former classmates to gather more testimonies. Yes, in high school, Scarlett Liu openly hated Lily. She tore up Lily's test papers, poured ink into her desk drawer, and even incited the entire class to shun her. But because she was a rich heiress, Lily couldn't do anything but endure it. Later, the incident exploded. She was expelled from school, but immediately went abroad to study and whitewash her image. And now she's back, transforming herself into a talented businesswoman. In the video, the male student was full of righteous indignation. My company's stock price continuously dropped for several days. Partners started calling, subtly asking what exactly was going on. I knew that if I didn't give them a satisfactory explanation, the contracts would be immediately suspended. I twirled the fountain pen in my hand, my voice calm as I spoke on the phone. Just wait a little longer. We're all business people. I'm sure everyone understands that if you're not sure of victory, you shouldn't act too soon. Fortunately, Lily didn't have as much patience as I thought. She hated me even more than in my previous life. This time, seeing me slandered online, she couldn't stand it anymore and immediately organized a live stream, speaking out directly. On the live broadcast, she pretended to hesitate, her voice tinged with sadness and nostalgia. I still remember very clearly that year when the teacher called me to read a passage. Because I attended primary school in a rural village, the teachers had to teach many subjects, so I only learned English with a rudimentary accent. She began to lament, her eyes glistening with tears. I smiled faintly, quietly picking up my phone and dialing a number. She intended to put on a show in front of me. Let's see if she can cry this time. It's a little embarrassing to say, but the first time I realized my pronunciation wasn't standard was when she laughed at me. Lily slightly lowered her head, her voice carrying a hint of embarrassment and self-deprecation, but as she spoke these words, her eyes were already moist with a thin film of tears. She continued to recount, "The performance at the school anniversary, I also prepared for a very long time. I studied piano for many years." Her voice still feigned calmness, but the more she spoke, the more it made people feel heartbroken. The live comments exploded. I don't know if it was genuine netizens commenting or hired trolls. A series of comments simultaneously appeared. "Sweetie, you were already great, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Scarlet Lou is truly shameless, doesn't she look at herself and see what right she has to mock someone so diligent and hardworking? Wait, am I the only one who noticed the inconsistency? She said she went to primary school in a rural village and didn't even have an English teacher. Yet she says she studied piano for over 10 years. Since when do rural schools have pianos?" I read the last comment and couldn't help but burst out laughing. But that comment just flashed by very quickly, immediately drowned out by a barrage of other comments. After all, only a few people were sober enough to notice this contradiction. That day's live stream, the number of live viewers exceeded 5 million. Lily's name once again topped the search rankings, while I was mercilessly slammed by the entire internet. The next morning, my father called me home. He furiously ordered, "Immediately merge Lumina into Lu Corporation. You studied abroad for 4 years and learned nothing. You've only been back for a few days and already caused such a huge mess. Hurry up and hand the company over to the family, then hold a press conference and publicly apologize." I calmly looked at him, not rushing to speak, then slowly said each word. "Dad, you should clarify one thing first. It's your second son's girlfriend who's causing trouble, not my company having problems. So what? It's still because you bullied her first." My father slammed the table, his eyes red with anger. "If you're still so stubborn, don't blame me for not considering you my daughter anymore." I smiled, my voice calm. "Oh, then you must have forgotten. The one who carried me for 9 months and 10 days is my mother." Not long after, the Lu Corporation and the Jiang Corporation announced their partnership. I slightly curved my lips, not surprised in the least. They finally showed their hand. The Lu Corporation partnered with the Jiang Corporation, continuously targeting my company, snatching many large projects from Lumina. My father publicly announced his intention to sever our father-daughter relationship. In front of the media, he loudly scolded, "I don't have such a malicious daughter. She doesn't deserve the Lu surname." In the company parking lot, I was almost splashed with acid by one of Lily's extremist fans. If I hadn't reacted quickly, the scene from my previous life might have repeated itself. Not only that, my father also secretly discussed with Brandon Liu. They planned to use my high school medical records, plus the incident where I went insane at the school anniversary, to commit me to a mental hospital. Past life or present life, they still only knew these dirty tricks. But unfortunately, this time, I was no longer the me of my previous life. If they wanted to play a game of chess, I wouldn't mind playing it with them to the end. My counterattack officially began. Brother, on the surface, I seemed to be continuously failing, without any power to resist. Right at this moment, Lily won her first Best Actress award in her life, and her birthday was also approaching. Brandon Liu hosted a grand celebration for her, decorated lavishly, even inviting fans to attend. This event was also live-streamed online, attracting millions of viewers. On stage, Lily wore a pristine white dress, gently thanking her fans. The entire hall applauded thunderously, the atmosphere more lively than ever. Afterwards, the program moved into the segment of showing congratulatory videos from fans. The large screen behind her lit up, and the images began to play. But the images were a little blurry, the camera angle hidden, as if secretly filmed. In the video, in a dressing room on a film set, another actress was standing in front of a mirror, adjusting her costume. Suddenly, Lily rushed in, colliding with her. Next, she grabbed the actress's hand and slapped herself hard across the face. The other actress was stunned, her eyes wide with surprise, but Lily smiled coldly. "Who do you think you are to dare to compete for a role with me? Who allowed you to compete with me? How dare you make me a supporting actress to you? Do you know who my boyfriend is? He's the CEO of Lu Corporation, Brandon Liu. Just you wait. When he sees the wounds on my face, you'd best think about how you're going to live once the video of you bullying a colleague is released, and you're completely blacklisted." The entire hall fell into a deadly silence. The audience was stunned, reporters deeply shocked. Fans gaped. Only I sat in the shadows, quietly raising my wine glass, taking a small sip, then slowly curving my lips into a smile. This was truly the best birthday gift. Lily, how else do you plan to cry this time? The big screen continued to play. In the video, Lily stared at the chest of the actress opposite her, the corner of her lips curling into a suggestive smile. At that very moment, no, Lily shrieked, instantly lunging forward, trying to block the screen. But it was too late. The hall erupted, fans exploded. Reporters were astonished, murmurs of discussion filled the air. Immediately, Lily and Brandon Liu's names shot to the top of the search rankings. Lily, my boyfriend, is Brandon Liu. Lily birthday live stream. Lily bullied again. Comments under the posts increased rapidly. Right next to me, Sarah clutched her phone, furiously typing, "Lily, are you bullied everywhere you go? Is the whole world at fault for you?" Her comment was swarmed with likes, climbing straight to the top of the hottest comments. Netizens began a full-scale assault. OMG, she grabbed someone else's hand and slapped herself, so vicious. Look at that swollen face. If it's not swollen, how can she prove she was bullied? Don't call her Lily anymore, change it to Lily the green tea bitch. If I remember correctly, the movie that helped her win Best Actress, the female lead wasn't her originally, right? Before that, there was another very popular actress, but she suddenly had nude photos leaked and was blacklisted. So if she can't audition, she relies on slander and defamation to win roles. I sat there, gently raising my wine glass to my lips, slowly taking a sip. Indeed, nothing was more wonderful than a birthday gift like this. Lily, how do you plan to play the role of a saint now? While netizens were still buzzing, another video unexpectedly topped the hot search. This video was filmed at a foreign university. In the frame were international students with various hair and eye colors. After a Chinese international student spoke, the whole group burst into laughter, mimicking her non-standard pronunciation. A thin, arrogant blonde guy repeated the English sentence in a standard British accent, then mocked. "Does everyone know what this is? This is proper British pronunciation." The very next second, I grabbed him by the collar and landed a punch square on his face, the screen shaking violently. My voice, clear and sharp, shot out from my cold lips. "What are you laughing at? Do you laugh like this at your father's funeral too?" The blonde guy, furious, screamed, demanding to fight me. But in the end, I punched him again. I used the toe of my shoe to lift his chin, a slight smile on my lips, and slowly said, "Do you know what this is?" "This is called Chinese Kung Fu, you wild dog." This video wasn't posted by me. The person filming and speaking was a regular Chinese female student studying abroad there. She included a short share. I am also a girl who grew up in the mountains. When I was born, my grandmother almost threw me into the stove to burn alive. But unlike Miss Lily, our village didn't have a piano, nor any kind benefactor who provided 10,000 yuan a month. There was only a girl like me who took almost 30 years to gather the courage to leave that place, only to be mocked on my very first day studying abroad. I cannot stand to see someone distort black and white, defaming the person who once helped me. In the comments section, netizens were boiling. "Wait, am I seeing things? The person in the video is Scarlett Liu, who was accused of school bullying. Finally, someone is telling the truth." Who would believe that a girl from a rural village studied piano for over 10 years since childhood? The logic completely doesn't add up, yet there are still tons of people who blindly believe it. In short, if Scarlett Liu is called a bully, I only wish to meet more bullies like her. I sat in front of the screen, silently taking a sip of wine. "Lily, how long can you maintain this white lotus flower image? Damn, that big sister is so cool." Wait, wasn't Brandon Liu the benefactor who provided for Lily? And Brandon Liu is Scarlett Liu's biological brother. Could it be that he wanted to compete for inheritance with his sister, so he deliberately slandered her? Immediately after, another video appeared. It was a video from my 18th birthday party. It was a video proving everything that had been hidden. Images from many years ago, Lily jumping from a rooftop to receive tuition sponsorship, then falsely accusing another little girl in the orphanage of pushing her. The surveillance video that had been hidden for so many years finally appeared online. But this wasn't all. Evidence that Brandon Liu hired someone to kill Chloe Chin. His dark dealings with my father, from stealing projects and rigging bids to murder and cover-ups to manipulate the Liu Corporation. The dirty tricks they had executed were exposed one by one to the light. And finally, the story of Ethan. He had manipulated his own biological mother for 3 years, gradually causing her to break down, then forced her to commit suicide right in front of his father. All just to gain a foothold in the Jiang family. I poured money like water, collecting all the evidence from my past life and this one, slowly releasing it onto the hot search. Thanks to their previous antics, the number of followers for this scandal had already reached tens of millions. Now, as the story entered its conclusion, the crowd exploded. Damn it, what is this? Starting from defaming a young businesswoman, then revealing a bunch of actual murders. They're murderers. Call the police, what are you waiting for? The police were caught off guard by a series of reports. The situation spiraled completely out of control. No one could suppress it. Those who thought they could manipulate public opinion were ultimately buried alive by public opinion itself. I leaned back in my chair, slowly raising my wine glass, taking a small sip. Watching a series of names fall into the abyss, I gently curved my lips and slowly whispered, "Are you satisfied with this ending?" The day my father and Brandon Liu were arrested by the police, my mother tossed a divorce paper onto the table. Brandon Liu couldn't believe it. His eyes red, he yelled at her, "Mom, I'm your biological son too. Why are you favoring Scarlet Liu? I'm your son too." My mother took a sip of tea, calmly replying, "Your father favored you, so I'll favor your sister. This world is inherently fair, isn't it?" At the same time, the projects that the Liu Corporation and Jiang Corporation had stolen from me were successively exposed for numerous irregularities. They were not only prosecuted for murder, but also charged with economic crimes. I acquired the dilapidated Liu Corporation, officially merging it into Lumina. Afterwards, I arranged to meet Isabella Jiang, Ethan's paternal half-sister. She was the daughter of the legitimate wife of the Jiang family, born from a political marriage. She swirled her coffee cup, her voice calm. "When I was little, I hated that woman very much. I thought she ruined my family, but later I realized that if my father hadn't cheated, there wouldn't have been a person named Ethan Jiang in this world." She smiled faintly, her eyes cold. Dying at the hands of her own son. You could say it was her retribution. A year ago, I had proactively contacted Isabella Jiang. We reached an agreement. I would help her kick Ethan out of the Jiang Corporation, helping her seize complete control. In return, she would assist me in domestic resource transactions. Including the recent manipulation of public opinion, she was the one behind me, helping me escalate it to a climax. She rested her chin on her hand, her eyes hinting at a smile. But I'm still very curious. How did you guess that his mother's suicide was related to him? I slightly curved my lips but didn't answer, because in my previous life, he had done the same thing to me. Before the official verdict was announced, I specifically visited old acquaintances in prison. The first person I met was my brother. He clenched his fists, staring at me with eyes that seemed to want to devour me alive. I smiled faintly, my voice full of mockery. "Don't look at me like that, brother. I know what you want to ask." I sat down, lowering my voice, emphasizing each word. Being thrown out like a stray dog. I've tasted that feeling once before. Did you really think that all these years I was just indulging in decadence, drowning myself in alcohol and parties in a foreign land? During that time, I was so busy I barely got a full night's sleep. Besides studying and running the company, I also had to painstakingly search for every lead related to them. Based on clues from my previous life, I followed every trace, finding evidence of the crimes of these three people. They manipulated things too skillfully, leaving almost no loopholes. This proved that it couldn't be the first time they had done such things. A villain can't only act maliciously in front of me. In places I didn't see, there must have been countless other shadows they created, and I guessed correctly. I calmly looked at him, my voice full of sarcasm. "Brandon Liu, Dad always said I wasn't like his child. He taught you to be an autocratic tyrant, a wild beast willing to trample on the law to achieve your goals." I smiled faintly, my voice light as a feather. "How fortunate, I'm not like him at all." The second person I visited was Lily. Her hair was disheveled, her face gaunt, her eyes filled with such intense hatred that it seemed she wanted to devour me alive through the glass barrier. This time, she no longer had the appearance of a white lotus flower. She had completely gone insane. Her voice, hoarse, screamed madly, "If you had evidence, why didn't you reveal it sooner?" I tilted my head, smiling faintly, feigning weakness. "Wasn't it fun?" she shrieked, her voice cracking with rage. "Fun, my ass." I chuckled softly, calmly replying, "Oh, not fun. Then why did you pretend for so long?" I slowly stood up, my gaze sweeping over Lily, who was nearly insane inside the cell, then smiled, my voice calm yet cruel. "Of course, I had to let you think you had won. That's what makes it interesting. I could have released this evidence sooner, but where's the fun in that? I wanted to let her think she had reached the pinnacle, thought everything was in her hands, thought she had won absolutely. Then, right before the dawn of her glorious moment, she would witness everything crumble, see all her glory, power, and fame crushed in an instant, watch herself fall into hell with no escape. Just like I experienced in my previous life, this time, it's your turn. The last person I went to see was Ethan. Actually, I hadn't intended to go, because Lily was my enemy from beginning to end. Brandon Liu had a blood relationship with me, and as for Ethan, after my love for him vanished, there was no longer any relationship between us. But the police said he wanted to see me once, so I came here and sat down opposite him, separated by a pane of glass. He was silent for a long time, just quietly looking at me. Just as I began to lose patience and was about to stand up and leave, he suddenly spoke, his voice very faint. "It shouldn't be like this." I froze, frowning, and turned to look at him. He looked straight at me, his dark eyes sparkling with an unreadable emotion. He said, his voice hoarse, "The Liu family should have been mine. We should have been engaged." I suddenly burst out laughing. If it weren't for the faint scar on his forehead, I almost would have thought the person in front of me was still Ethan Jiang from my previous life. But then I suddenly found it truly ridiculous. I chuckled softly, looking at him with eyes full of sarcasm. "Just engaged? Why don't you finish the rest? Didn't you once use me to get everything from the Liu family, and then collude with Brandon Liu to kill me?" Ethan's lips pressed tightly together, his eyes flickering for a moment, then he whispered, his voice full of bitterness. "But a long, long time after that, I regretted it. It's just that you didn't know any more then." I suddenly burst into loud laughter, laughing so hard my entire body shook. This is the most ridiculous story I've ever heard. Then I narrowed my eyes at him, slowly speaking each word. "That's right, I died. Of course, I couldn't know." I pressed my hand against the glass, looking straight into his eyes. Then I lowered my voice, each word sharp as a knife. "But even if I did know, so what? Who cares about your regret? This time, the winner is me. The one going to hell is you, Ethan. This is the ending you deserve." This winter came earlier than usual. When I left the detention center, the sky outside was already dark. The biting cold air swept across my face, but I only felt incredibly refreshed. My phone vibrated. It was a call from Chloe Chin. She spoke calmly, but her voice held a hint of excitement. "After the new year, I'm going abroad to start new experiments at the Research Institute." I softly curved my lips, gently replying, "Then I wish you smooth sailing. Feel free to do what you want. I'll help you clean up the remaining troubles." A WeChat message popped up on the screen. It was from Sarah. "We've already sat down at the table. Come quickly and pay. Don't try to escape." I stared at the screen for a moment, unable to help but laugh. "Okay, on my way." Outside the car window, a crescent moon hung in the sky. It illuminated a corner of the ink-black night, gentle, delicate, yet still radiating brilliant beauty. "This night will pass, and the moon will eventually set.